How are you, Solution Uncle? I am a lady from Pretoria. Whoever I tell my story thinks I am joking. Truly, people die by God's time. No one has power to take another's life. I did not know all this before until it happened to me. Uncle, even though I escaped death, I am still living in fear. Hope we are going to share my story with the nation. I am afraid for my future. I don't want what happened to me to happen again. I visit many prophets, traditional healers, sangomas, but I'm still experiencing the same. To make the story short, I was born in Durban before we moved to Messina. I am the only kid of my parents. My father was a general manager at a factory, and mom is a nurse at a local hospital. My father loved my mom, but these relatives hated her. Mom was from a poor background, whilst Dad was from a rich background. Dad was born in a rich family. Our grandfather, his father, was a director at a mine, whilst grandmother, his mother, was a lecturer at a local university. She gave birth to 4 kids. My father, who was the firstborn, and his 3 sisters. The family employed a maid from Mozambique. She worked for them for more than 10 years till she got impregnated by a local man. They stayed together for only a year. Only have 1 kid, who is my mom. Her father passed away after only staying with the family for just a year. Life began to be very hard for my grandmother, the mother of my mother, failing to look after my mom on her own, went back to her former employers, my father's parents, seeking for help. My father's mother felt pity for her, offered them food, clothes, and accommodation, sent my mother to school from primary to tertiary education. My mom was very intelligent at school. My father liked the girl, and the two started dating, got engaged, but my father's family never blessed the marriage. How can their one and only son marry their maid's daughter? My mother had so many miscarriages before I was born in 2004. Since aunties never liked my mom, started accusing her of aborting pregnancies before, that's why she was failing to have a child. Surprisingly, my father continued to love a happy family, a family every person wished to be part of. I went to a group A school. I got everything I needed as a child. Our parents were very supportive. They loved each other. Even though I was a child, I believe they were the community's best couple, Romeo and Juliet like. Events suddenly turned upside down after my mother gave birth to my little sister. Princess was born with albinism. Our father divorced our mother after the birth of my little sister. He did not accept Princess as his child because of her status. Started suspecting that we were all not his children. His sisters, our aunties, always come to harass us every day. One day, one of his sisters, my auntie, came home, started to beat my mom. No one was around to rescue. I managed to pick a stone and struck my aunt on the left leg. She fallen down. This angered her to the most extent. She told me that I was not going to live longer. The following month, our father passed away after a short illness. People started accusing my mother of killing our father. Relatives chased us away, telling us that we were not their children, took away all our father's belongings, giving us nothing. My mother decided that we should move to Messina after being transferred at work. Before we left, that sister of my father who I stoned told me that she wanted me dead. We came here to Messina, but I kept on dreaming my auntie telling me she wanted me dead. I was 3 years old by then. After 4 years in Messina, I started going to school. One day, as we were returning home from school with my friends, walking by the roadside, from nowhere, a car just swerved to where we were. I failed to escape like what my friends did. The car hit me. From then, I didn't know what was happening. I could not saw, but I heard everything. It seems as if I was now dreaming. Ambulance was called. I was rushed to the hospital, coincidentally to the hospital where my mother works. It is alleged that I passed away on our way. I was confirmed dead. As soon as we arrived, my mother informed churchmates and friends about my death. Before I was taken to the mortuary, a voice whispered in my ears, "Where are you going, innocent soul?" Within few seconds, I started breathing. This is where and when I started to know what was happening. A group of people running away from the stretcher bed. I was lying, only my mother remained closer. I was taken to the hospital since I had a broken leg. My story was the talk at the hospital the whole week. Even some locals knew my story. I recovered and returned home. From then, I'm always attacked by a thing I'm not seeing. I feel as if there is a person sitting on me once I fell asleep, failing to breathe well. Also seeing dreams of my auntie telling me, "Why did you not die?" Fellow people, can you help me? My life is at risk. Solution Uncle, how are you? Mine is not a confession but a testimony. God saved my life at the verge of death. Grew up and raised in Cape Town, living with my parents at a flat. It is said that my grandfather killed a workmate in 1970 in a fight for promotion at work. He worked for Cluto Motors as a public relations officer. The workmate was a transport officer. They were close friends. One day, my grandfather called the man to his office during lunch time. They usually meet during lunch times, gave him a drink with poison. Because the workmate trusted my grandfather as a friend, never suspected of anything. My grandfather was so wicked, betrayed his friend's trust. The workmate passed away at his home. My grandfather used juju to let the relatives of the deceased never bother to investigate what caused death. Grandfather was promoted at work. The spirit of the man he killed started appearing to him, killing some of our relatives, including my father. Grandfather went to consult a sangoma on his own. The sangoma told him that the deceased person wanted a wife from our family to stop causing troubles. Granny offered me to the deceased man. The man became my spiritual husband. Not knowing I have a spiritual husband, I started dating boys at school, at church, even in the area. Grew up to 35 years without a boyfriend. This led my mother to suspect that something was wrong. We went to consult a traditional healer. The traditional healer told us everything. He gave me medicine. By then, grandfather had already passed away. Went back home. My life started to change. Started dating a man I met in town. His name was Charles Banda. He was from Zambia. Charles was a widower. His wife died in a bus accident before they have a child. We married and have 3 kids. Our firstborn started school at a boarding. One day we went to see him on a visit day. On our way returning home, we were involved in a fatal accident. My husband and 2 other kids died on the spot. I was seriously injured, rushed to hospital. At the hospital, I was put on a life supporting system. I could hear and see, but I could not talk and eat. Uncle, I spent 3 days in coma. On the 3rd day, my mother visited. I still remember the doctor convincing my mother to let them remove me on the life supporting system since there was no changes, most hating part of my life. What if my mother accepted? I would be already dead. Thank you, mother, for saving my life. She keeps on denying. The following day, I started to recover, removed on the life supporting system, fully recovered, and went back home. Now staying with my firstborn here in Cape Town. My mother passed away 2 years ago. May her soul rest in peace, my mother. A prophet pronounced that the spirit of my grandfather's workmate caused the accident is still trying to get me. Fellow Africans, help me. I need freedom. Solution Uncle, Hope you publish my story as a painful experience to share with the world. My name is Navo Mapala. I am a man aged 43. Came to Cape Town looking for greener pastures. Born and grew in Maputo, Mozambique. Parents passed away when I was a kid. I grew up staying with my stepmom. Never went to school. Only a children went to school. Started working at a farm when I was 9 years old, trying to earn money for school fees. Most people always tell me, Nave, you are very intelligent. You should be good at school. I could work at the farm and get paid. Stepmom always took the money and brought goodies for her children. I don't have even a pair of shoes. When I was growing, I had a friend. His name was Naison Malula. Naison was also staying with the stepmother. Our stepmothers were close friends. We could share experiences whilst herding cattle whilst other children going to school. Nelson later escaped to South Africa because of harsh conditions we were living in. They beat me, saying I know where Nelson gone. The two mothers were now always harassing me. I contacted Nelson and told him what had transpired. Nelson sent me money for bus fare. I followed here in SA. The day I arrived here, foreigners were being harassed and beaten. Our house was destroyed. Nelson and a roommate were buried alive. A South African citizen grabbed me from the crowd, put me in her car's boot, rushed me to her home, gave me food, shelter, and clothes, paid my tertiary fees for a short course, now working in London, United Kingdom. Thank you, fellow African, for saving my life. Rest in peace, Nelson and a friend. You changed my life. Always in tears when I think of your story.